Darth Maul drives his blade through Qui-Gon Jinn on Naboo and changes the galaxy forever. But what if the blade never landed? What if the one Jedi who actually understood Ankin Skywalker lived to train him? The duel in the Theed power generator is one of the most brutal fights in Jedi history. Maul is fast, faster than anyone Qui-Gon has faced before. The double-bladed saber covers so much ground so quickly that just staying alive requires everything Qui-Gon has. They fight across catwalks and through corridors and down into the laser gate chamber. And by the time the gates trap them in separate sections, Qui-Gon is already tired, in a way he doesn't show. When the gates open, he goes in hard. Too hard, maybe. Maul is waiting for exactly that. Drives him back, gets him cornered, and goes for the kill. In the real timeline, the blade goes through his chest, and that's it. Game over. But here, Qui-Gon feels it coming in the Force. Just a fraction of a second early. Just enough. He twists. The blade catches his side instead of his chest. Deep. Serious. Enough to drop him to his knees. Not enough to kill him. Obi-Wan comes through the gate, and the fight that follows is short and savage, and ends with Maul in two pieces at the bottom of the shaft. Qui-Gon survives. Barely. He spends 3 weeks in a medical facility on Naboo, and every one of those days is closer to dying than anyone tells him at the time. But he comes out the other side. And on the other side, there's a 9-year-old boy from Tatooine who needs a master. Qui-Gon takes Anakin as his Padawan over the Council's objections. Same as he always would have. This part doesn't change. He has no patience for the Council's fear, and he says so clearly. And they give in because Qui-Gon has never in his life let the Council tell him something was impossible, and walked away believing it. What changes is everything that comes after. Obi-Wan is elevated to knight, earlier than expected, on the strength of what he did against Maul, and goes his own way. He and Qui-Gon stay close. He and Anakin grow up as something like brothers, rather than something like a frustrated father and son. The distance that came from Obi-Wan being forced into a training rule he wasn't ready for, that never builds up. Qui-Gon trains Anakin the way nobody else would have. He doesn't push the rules of attachment at him constantly. He talks about the living force, about being present, about feeling things fully rather than cutting them off, about the difference between being ruled by your emotions and being honest about them. He sees the darkness in Anakin clearly, doesn't flinch from it, and treats it as something to be worked through rather than hidden. When Anakin kills the Tusken Raiders, when he comes back from Tatooine with his mother's death written all over his face, and the dark side clinging to him like smoke, Qui-Gon doesn't tell him to let go. He sits with him for hours, and he says a thing nobody else ever says. I know, and you're gonna carry it, but you don't have to carry it alone. It doesn't fix anything. Grief doesn't work like that, but it means Anakin doesn't bury it. Doesn't let it fester in the dark where Palpatine can find it. Palpatine has been watching Anakin since he was 9 years old. He has been patient and careful, and he knows exactly which wounds to press on, and exactly how hard. He has a plan, and it is a very good plan, and it requires Anakin to be isolated, cut off from anyone who truly understands him, surrounded by people who love him, but can't quite reach him. Qui-Gon reaches him. Every time Palpatine tries to position himself as the one person who gets Anakin, the one voice that truly sees him, he runs into the fact that Anakin already has that, has had it since he was 9. Palpatine is charming and warm, and genuinely skilled at making people feel understood, but he is working next to a man who does it better, and means it, and Anakin knows the difference even if he can't put words to it. The nightmares still come. Anakin still has visions of Padme dying, and they still shake him badly. But when they do, he goes to Qui-Gon, not to Palpatine. And Qui-Gon, who has spent 30 years learning to sit inside hard things without running from them, helps him find the difference between a vision that must be prevented and a fear that must be faced. Palpatine offers him the dark side as the answer to the nightmares. Qui-Gon has already offered him something harder and more real. The Clone Wars play out mostly the same. The Separatists rise, the Clone Army is revealed, the Republic goes to war across the galaxy, and Anakin becomes the general everyone expected him to become. Brilliant and aggressive and completely impossible to plan around because he never does what anyone expects. But he's different in small ways that matter enormously. He still gets angry, he still pushes too hard, and takes risks that make everyone around him age faster than they should. But there's something underneath the aggression that wasn't there in the real timeline. A foundation. Something Qui-Gon built brick by brick over 15 years that doesn't give way when things get hard. He and Padme still fall in love, still get married in secret, still spend years managing that particular impossible situation. And the secret still weighs on him, but differently. because he's talked to Qui-Gon about Padme without naming her. Not the marriage, not the specifics, but the feeling of loving someone completely and being terrified of losing them. Qui-Gon listened to all of it and said something that Anakin turns over in his mind for years. The Jedi fear attachment because they've seen what it does when it breaks. But attachment that's honest, that doesn't try to own the other person, that can love and still let go if it has to. That's not darkness. That's just being alive. Anakin isn't fixed. He's not some peaceful Zen version of himself. He's still Anakin. Loud, reckless, twice as powerful as anyone has a right to be. But Palpatine's hooks don't find the same grip. It still gets close. Late in the Clone Wars, the nightmares at their worst, the war grinding on, Padme's pregnancy a secret he's carrying alone, except for Qui-Gon. Palpatine makes his move. He tells Anakin the legend of Darth Plagueis. He lays out the offer clearly. Power over death. The one thing Anakin wants most. Anakin listens. He doesn't walk away immediately. That would be too easy, and the story doesn't do easy. He sits with it, goes home, can't sleep, comes back the next day with something heavy in his face, and then he goes to Qui-Gon. He doesn't tell him what Palpatine said specifically. He tells him what he was offered, and doesn't name the source, and asks Qui-Gon something he's never asked out loud before. Is there a way to stop someone dying? A real way. Through the Force. Qui-Gon is quiet for a long time. He knows this question. He's been working on the answer for years, the path deeper into a living force that he's been slowly figuring out since Naboo. He understands exactly what it means that Anakin is asking it. There might be, he says carefully, but not the way you're being pointed toward. Anakin goes still. What do you mean? And just like that, Palpatine's plan starts to come apart. Qui-Gon goes to the council, not with accusations, with everything he knows, laid out carefully, the picture he's been building for years of something dark sitting at the center of the Republic. The council has heard versions of this before, and always found reasons to be careful. This time Qui-Gon doesn't let them be careful. He tells them about the offer Anakin was made, about the path it pointed toward, about 30 years of watching the Sith operate from shadows, and exactly what those shadows look like from where he's standing. The council listens, because Qui-Gon has been right before in ways they didn't want to hear, and they know it. They move. It's Qui-Gon and Mace who go to Palpatine's office. Anakin is with them, not because he's supposed to be, but because there is no version of this where he stays behind. Palpatine sees all three of them come through the door and understands in 1 second that the game is over. He tries to run the same play he always runs. Lightning, red blade, speed that shouldn't exist, and drives hard at Mace. Anakin steps in front of Qui-Gon, not to save him, to fight beside him. Side by side, the way they've been fighting since Anakin was 9 years old. Palpatine has spent years studying Anakin's fighting style, knows every angle and habit and tendency. He doesn't know what Anakin looks like when he's fighting next to the one person he trusts, completely, and isn't fighting scared. It's different. Mace holds the left, Anakin and Qui-Gon work the right together. Palpatine burns through everything he has trying to find the break in their line, and there isn't one. He slows. He staggers. He looks at Qui-Gon across the room with something that might actually be respect. You should have died on Naboo. Qui-Gon looks back at him steadily. Yes, I should have. It ends there, quick and final. No speech. Same as every other timeline where Palpatine goes down before he can give the order. The chips never fire. The signal never comes. Jedi across the galaxy keep fighting alongside their clones and come home. The Republic finds out what their Chancellor was. It takes time, and it's loud and messy, and some people never believe it. But the Empire never rises, and the dark times never come. Qui-Gon stands in the ruins of Palpatine's office afterwards, and is very quiet for a long time. He's been carrying the weight of Naboo for 20 years, the blade that almost killed him, the shadow that followed everything since. He doesn't say anything about it. He doesn't need to. Anakin stands next to him, and doesn't say anything either. Eventually, Qui-Gon puts a hand on his shoulder, and they walk out together. Anakin tells the council about Padme, this time with Qui-Gon beside him, not speaking for him, just there. The conversation that follows is long and difficult, and changes things in the order that haven't changed in 1,000 years. Master Jin is the one who says most of it. He's been waiting to say it for most of his career. We train children to cut off the things that make them human, and then we wonder why some of them break. We tell them love is a weakness, and then we send them into a galaxy full of people who need to be loved. Something has to change. It doesn't change. Overnight. Nothing does. But the conversation starts in a way it never has before, and Yoda, who sits through all of it without speaking until the very end, says one thing that surprises everyone in the room. Wrong. We have been. Admit this. We must. 9 words from Yoda. 9 words that begin the long, slow work of the Order, finally becoming what it was always supposed to be. Anakin and Padme stop hiding. Luke and Leia are born into a family that isn't a secret. Obi-Wan is there at the birth and holds both of them and looks at Anakin across the room with an expression that needs no words. And that is our story. If this is your first video, welcome and please subscribe. If you've been here a while and haven't yet, now is a great time. It keeps the channel going and means you never miss the next one. Drop a like if you enjoyed this one. It helps more people find the channel. In the comments, what Star Wars what if do you want next? We've done Yoda never going in exile, Anakin letting Mace kill Palpatine, the clones refusing Order 66, Yoda at the Siege of Mandalore, Anakin discovering Palpatine early, Anakin never having the nightmares, and now this one. Drop your ideas below, and the most popular ones are what I make next. Thank you for watching, every single one of you. I'll see you in the next one.